Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Sabiha Gul from GMP Compliance Academy. Everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to introduce firstly GMP Compliance Academy, and now first of all I would like to tell you due to some personal reason, Sir Shoaib will not joining us, but at the end of session he will join us. First of all, I would like to tell you what's the GMP Compliance Academy vision and mission. The basic vision of GMP Compliance Academy to be a global center of pharma knowledge, connections and supply chain excellence for safe and medical devices and pharmaceutical products. And our vision of our company is to provide a global standard forum for pharmaceutical knowledge and development and safe products and reliable services. And inshallah, we will be open our offices in UAE, Germany, and Europe, and as well as USA. GMP Compliance Academy provide multiple facilities like you can see our services, aseptic sterile and different services you can see on our screen. And we will share some memberships for you people. You can join our membership for further benefits. And now we'd like to thank you, Mr. Ahmed Farai. You are the speaker of today PICS webinar, and it's very first time for Pakistan. It's very delightful for Pakistan GC First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Ahmed Farai, who is ex-PICS GMP inspector from Malaysia and Vice President Green Tech Valley 2. I would like to I would like to thank you so much, sir. And please start your session.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Just a moment, I will share my screen here.
Yes, Ahmed, we can start now.
Oh, hold on. I'm trying to start the video. Hold on.
Okay, okay.
Can you see the presentation or not?
Yes, we can see your screen where you want to run a PICS video, and you have another folder for a presentation and one for collaboration.
Okay, hold on. I'll try and close this one. Okay, I think the video is not working. I will straight go to the presentation, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, can you see the presentation?
Not now. We can see only your folders. Maybe it is taking some time. Before it was visible. Yes, Ahmed. We can view only your folder.
Oh, you can't see the presentation, is it?
No.
Oh, okay, okay.
If you double click on share screen and double click on presentation, I think it should come. Before it was coming.
Okay.
Then you switch to video.
You can see the presentation now?
No.
Is that okay?
Yes, yes. So you
Okay.
can make it a big screen. Yes, good. Ahmed, we cannot hear you. If you can explain the slide, I think. Voice is not coming. Can you check your system is mute maybe? Please unmute.
Okay, I think the video is not working. Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think we'll stick to this, yeah?
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
okay. As the introduction just now, our presentation today is about the PICS GMP certification of pharma industries from Malaysia. Okay. As a background, myself, my name is Ahmad Farish bin Ahmad Nazri. Um, uh, People refer to me as Farish. I think you can call me Farish. I received my bachelor's degree from the University of Bath, United Kingdom, back in 1996. I came back to Malaysia to do my pre-registration and registration with the Malaysian Pharmaceutical Board in 1997 and received my registered pharmacist status in 1997. I have been in the pharma industry for 24 years, since 1996 up to today. I've been with the government. Then I switched to the industry. I've worked with a generics manufacturer, a multinational, and most of my work is in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay. As a background of my company, Green Tech Valley Sdn Bhd, our main business is actually the GMP consulting. We do design and build facilities. We design general pharma and also sterile manufacturing facilities, nutraceuticals, Here they call traditional medicine and also cosmetic facilities. In addition to that, some of the clients, they request for us to install the pharmaceutical quality system for them. So we do the pharmaceutical quality system and install it and give training to our clients to ensure that the building and also the quality system is in place, ready for the regulatory audit. Um, uh, for the equipment and facilities and other systems, we also conduct validation and testing on behalf of our client, and some of it we assist the client in conducting the validation. Um, uh, some for sterile manufacturers, we do the media fill and media simulation in addition to the equipment validation. Um, for the products, we do the product registration. That means register the product with the Malaysian Pharmaceutical Control Bureau. Yeah. In addition to services, we also conduct trading in pharmaceutical and medical device and supplies. Just some of our projects that we have done. This one is actually a radio pharmaceutical facility. We have also done, like I said, this one is a nutraceutical and OTC. This one is an extraction plant and API plant. We've done clean rooms, radio pharmaceutical teaching clean rooms. This one are sterile clean rooms for the pharma industry that we've done from start to finish. I think we've designed, constructed, and also installed the quality system up to the level where they could go for the regulatory audit. Okay, so let's go through direct to the GMP, PICS GMP. Okay, PICS is one of the major international GMP codes, as you know. PICS is used by PICS member countries. The other major international GMP codes are US FDA, World Health Organization, GMP code, and TGA code. Okay, but we are more concerned with the PICS code, which is of our interest. Right. So the PICS is actually established in 1995 as an extension to the Pharmaceutical Inspection Convention of 1970. So it is actually a cooperation arrangement between the regulatory authorities in the field of good manufacturing practice. Up to date, there are actually 53 participating authorities all around the world. What PICS aims is actually to harmonize inspection procedures, or in other words, they aim to actually standardize the inspection procedures. So a bit of background or history of PICS in Malaysia. Malaysia became the number 26 member of the Pharmaceutical Inspection Corporation Scheme in 1st of January 2002. Some of the challenges that we had to face in um, becoming a PICS members is actually bridging the gap. There is a gap between the GMP standards at that time and the GMP standards of PICS. So the main challenge was to bridge the gap between these two standards, right? And it is not only the PICS GMP standard, there are also other standards that we have to look at. For example, engineering standard, that means the facility, the equipment and other system standards, production standards, quality control standards, quality system standards, and of course the way of auditing also was a bit different back in the day, and how it is being conducted under the PICS guidelines. So it's a bit different. So the challenge was to actually bridge the gap between the two standards. Is it okay? Can you guys hear me so far?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll continue. In Malaysia, the way PICS is structured legally is PICS is actually under the Control and Cosmetic Regulations 1984. This regulation is set up under the Sales of Drug Act, or we call it SODA, Sales of Drug Act, and all this is controlled by the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, or NPRA. So when this perspective companies that aims to actually go for the PICS standards need to be engaged with the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, or NPRA, right? NPRA also last time was also known as National Pharmaceutical Control Bureau, NPCB, but has since changed its name and now is known as the NPRA, National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency. The PICS code itself, you can actually download the latest PICS code from the PICS website, which is www.picscheme.org. So that is the website where you could actually download the guidelines. There are actually 4 files in the guidelines. We are mainly concerned with this guide to good manufacturing practice for medicinal products, part 1. So this part 1, or sometimes we refer to it as the main body, is actually the main guideline that everybody has to adhere to. So there is 9 chapters altogether. There are 9 chapters together. Hold on, There are 9 chapters altogether. Chapter 1 is the PQS, or the Pharmaceutical Quality System. Chapter number 2 is personnel. Chapter number 3, premise and equipment. Chapter number 4 is on documentation. Chapter number 5 is on production. Chapter number 6 is on quality control and activities. Chapter number 7 are outsourced activities. Services that you that you have outsourced or you are receiving. Chapter number 8, complaints and product recall. Chapter number 9 is actually self-inspection, or some people know it as internal audit. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, for all pharmaceutical manufacturer wishing to go for PICS certification needs to comply to all 9 chapters of the main body, of the part 1. Okay, in addition to that, there are the annexes for companies or manufacturers that are involved in certain types of pharmaceutical manufacturing. For example, in Annex 1, manufacture of sterile medicinal product, if you are involved in sterile medicinal product, this is an addition to the actual Chapter 9 to Chapter 9 previously, or the main body. If you are doing biological medicinal substance for products of human use, then Annex number 2, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so there are 20 annexes altogether. Some are shared. That means, for example, if you are doing, you have computerized systems, Annex 11 might be applicable to you. If you're doing, for example, biologics, and in the biologics is also sterile, then you need to comply to Annex 1 and Annex 2 in addition to the main body. The general ones are like Annex 15, qualification and validation, Annex 16, qualified person and batch release, Annex 18, Annex 20, Annex 20, quality risk management, which is quite general, which is need to be complied by all manufacturers. Okay, in addition to the PICS code, it's not only the PICS code that you need to comply with. There are other standards, guidelines, and references. For example, ISO standards, I give you an example. It's actually normally the pharmaceutical quality system. Most quality systems are based on ISO 9000 series guidelines. The other one, for example, for sterile manufacturing or room grading, the ISO 14644 applies. Again, there are other guidelines and standards that you need to comply to, not only the PICS code. ISPE is actually International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineers. These are standards, guidelines for, normally it's for utilities, equipment and facility. For example, the clean room, the HVAC, water systems, gas systems, compressed air. There are guidelines published by ISPE, which is used by the pharmaceutical industry in the PICS context. Yeah. Other references such as ASTME, ICH, and also pharmacopoeias. We do refer to pharmacopoeias, especially for raw material. For example, the United States Pharmacopoeia, the British Pharmacopoeia, and the European Pharmacopoeia. Okay, in terms of the GMP compliance, normally there is two main components to the GMP compliance. Number one is actually the software part, which is the pharmaceutical quality system, the processes, the documentation, the records, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So this is the software part of the GMP compliance. And also there is a hardware component to the GMP compliance, which is the facility, the utility, and also the equipment. So if you think about it in a kind of like a computer kind of like a context, so you need both. In GMP compliance, you need the hardware and also the software. Without the hardware, without the software, it does not work. The software without the hardware also it does not work. So in terms of PICS GMP compliance, we need to prepare both in order to be compliant with the PICS GMP code. Okay, just an example of software. What we mean by software. Software, for example, good documentation, and we have something what we call a good documentation practice. Documentation and records are actually very important as part of the quality system. Yeah? So we need clearly documentation which prevents errors and spoken communication. So just examples of documentations that we need, specifications, manufacturing formula, instructions, procedures, and records. Yeah? So all these documents must be free from error, must be current, and must be available in writing, must be hard copy. The legibility of the documents is very important. The thing is, sometimes documents which are, for example, photocopied, documents which are photocopied, sometimes if it is photocopied too many times, or the printer or the photocopier is not working very well, then the legibility or you cannot read the document actually. That's number one. Number two, actually, documents which are or records which are being kept. So the main purpose of documents are for you to trace the batch history, and also, for example, if in case that you have investigations. If you have investigations, then if the documents you cannot read, or is not legible, or the handwriting or the recording you cannot understand, then it defeats the purpose of having the records. So this is just one example of the documentation, the issues with documentation that usually we come across with during audits. In terms of hardware, just to give you an example, what I meant was, for example, when previously when we were not in PICS and upgrading to PICS, issues like dead leg was not a very big issue. When we enter PICS, then all these we need to take care of, or we need to address dead legs and the design of water system loops, and how the finishing was. For example, in this example, if the piping of the water system is mounted too close to the clean room wall, then it prevents effective cleaning. So some of these issues we need to address, and we need we need to overcome it. Okay, in working towards a PICS compliance, what is actually the work or activities that we would need to go through in order for us to achieve GMP compliance? Number one, we have to determine what is the current compliance. So therefore, normally we would conduct what we call a gap audit. So what is the gap between the current compliance and the GMP PICS compliance? So normally we will conduct a gap audit and come up with a report detailing what is the gap, and also we need to work in the gap rectification. We need to work towards how do we resolve this gap, or how do we overcome this gap. Sometimes again it is either a software issue, which is documentation and records, or sometimes it's hardware issue, sometimes it's physical. So those like physical issues or software issues needs to be resolved. Once it is resolved, then the PICS audit from a Malaysian regulator could come in. Normally also it is after we have finished the gap rectification, and if all the issues have been addressed, and the basic quality system and infrastructure or physical infrastructure is in place, then normally a facility or a company would achieve its PICS GMP compliance. So our activities is actually in yellow below. There's an audit for the GMP or gap audit. We will consult with you and advise you on how to achieve the compliance from the audit that we have done. In certain cases, certain issues may crop up during the PICS audit. Then further consult might be required, and during operationally, some clients, because the system itself is actually a living system. So basically, if the manufacturer or the company, once they are used to the PICS environment, then it becomes a second nature. But sometimes because it is new, and the work culture is a bit different from what they are used to, they need extra assistance in terms of a consultation to maintain the GMP compliance. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of a timeline, what is the estimated time which might be required? So normally the gap audit will take 4 to 7 working days. Again, it's subject to the manufacturer itself. Number one, probably the size of the facility. Number two, what types of product, or just imagine that if, like, for example, a general generic manufacturer might have many different pharmaceutical dosage forms, then the audit becomes more detailed because we need to cover more area and more issues. After the gap audit, a report will be submitted to the manufacturer. Then the rectification would commence, and after the rectification has been completed, we estimated around possibly 3 to 12 months. Again, it depends on what is the gap. If the gap is small, then possibly we can achieve it in 3 to 4 months. If the gap is very large, and for example, if you need to do certain renovations to correct the workflow, to correct the clean room, yeah. So then the gap rectification would take longer. Then after that is complete, then we can go to the PICS audit. Again, PICS audit also would take similar timelines, similar time, depending again on the manufacturer, how large is it, how complex is the manufacturing activities. Okay, once you have the PICS audit is complete, depending on the outcome, if the outcome is positive, then the PICS compliance is achieved. Right. Just a note, because I'm sure that many of you would be interested to know what is the current timeline. The current waiting time for an MPRA audit, for an international audit, is 2 years. Okay. Normally, what will happen is once we have done the gap compliance audit, then if the compliance is quite good, if the compliance is good, then we could actually invite the auditors earlier. So if the compliance is very far, or there are many rectifications to be done, then the timeline, we would submit it a bit later, in order for the client or the manufacturer to have sufficient time to do the rectification. Current cost for the MPRA audit, this is cost to the MPRA, is not paid to us, it's actually paid to the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority. We from previous projects we have, and our experience, this is the most current kind of estimate. It's about Malaysian ringgit, about 150,000 to about 200,000 ringgit. Okay, right. For companies, that, or manufacturer which aims to market the products in Malaysia, or have marketing and sales presence in Malaysia, then once your facility is GMP compliant, then we could proceed with the product registration, because one of the requirements of registering the products in Malaysia is you need to be inspected by Malaysian National Pharmaceutical Control Authority, before that the product is being registered. Okay, so just a caution for the GMP audit and for the product registration. As you can imagine, because this industry is a very highly regulated industry, there are many laws, there are many regulations, there are many guidelines that needs to be adhered to. I just listed down a few. This is not everything. So just the important ones, for example, the Sales of Drug Act 1952, CDCR 1984, the Dangerous Drug Act, Poison Act, and Medicines Advertisement and Sale Act 1956, which actually determines how, let's say, for example, if you want to do advertisements and um, uh, sales literature, for example, brochures. So this is governed by the Medicines Advertisements and Sales Act 1956. So again, there are a lot of rules, regulation, and guidelines that need to be adhered to. Okay, product registration similar to the PICS compliance. You need to have the PICS compliance is actually a prerequisite. We submit actually the dossier. The dossier is actually ACTD format. I think most of you are familiar with ACTD or a CTD format dossier. So you need to submit this dossier in electronic form. So it's actually an online system. Once you have submitted, there will be queries, there will be requests for information, and there is a submission for the actual samples. Uh, because this is based on a online system, is based on a queue system. So if the queries is not answered in a set period of time, and a maximum amount of correspondence, then the dossier is rejected and you have to resubmit the dossier. Okay, provided that the dossier everything is okay, that if the queries sometimes the what do you call it, the dossier assessors would actually request for additional information for some things which are not clear, or additional information which is required, then the product is registered. Okay, product for pharma products is this. Once you register the product, you will have what we call a MAL number, a registration number for pharmaceutical product. And for let's say if you are dealing with cosmetics, there are notification is much. The dossier is actually very lighter. It's not as detailed as a pharma dossier. So they will give you a notification number. Activities after the product being registered is actually post-market surveillance, where the product is monitored for after sales. Let's say, for example, if there is any product complaints or any adverse reactions with the product. So these are the product market surveillance activities. Just a note. Okay, just a note. Registration as well would normally entail a 2 years kind of like period, from the time you are preparing, you start preparing the dossier until the product is being registered. Depending on the product, the cost could be as little as 20,000 Malaysian ringgit up to 150,000 Malaysian ringgit. Why the difference is not sometimes certain products, for example, cardiovascular system products need to conduct the bioequivalent studies. So bioequivalent studies need to be conducted. Then this cost would be substantially higher. So this is actually the registration of products in Malaysia. So you have in terms of the GMP compliance, how you achieve or how we plan for manufacturers from the current situation up to actually achieving their GMP status, and from there on, if the manufacturer or the client wishes to actually um, uh, market and distribute the products in Malaysia itself, then we would proceed and assist the client in actually submit the dossier up to the product registration status. Yeah. So this is actually the kind of work that it is involved in achieving these two kind like goalposts. Yeah? So these two goalposts. And I would like to add, I think for ourselves, Green Tech Valley, we are a Malaysian company. We are working actually with the CGA actually for this project, for inquiries and any information you could contact CGA for further information. Yeah. So I've gone through an overview of actually what is required. I'm sorry about the technical difficulty during the start of the Zoom meeting. Actually, I have actually prepared a video detailing out all this, but seem it doesn't work. So yeah, we had to revert to this. Yeah, we had to revert to manually giving you a presentation via verbal presentation. Again, my apologies. Yeah, some technical difficulties on the beginning. Yeah. Sorry again. Another thing I had to rush through because I'm just afraid that I would take too much of time, and I want to give you guys a chance for you guys to clear up any, if you have any queries or questions that you want to ask. Okay, so from myself, thank you very much. I hand it over to Kamran or CGA representative for them to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed. It was really wonderful and informative presentation, although we cannot cover all the topics in 1 hour. And definitely, if our participant have any question, we will contact you. And if they want to proceed for any project, definitely we will need your help. And now I will request participant, if they have any specific question, they can ask now, or they can send us the email. Please continue to like our page on Facebook and LinkedIn, and like our YouTube channel. And thank you so much, Ahmed, for your time. And we really appreciate, because definitely Pakistan is excited to go for PICS and EU and USFDA and other approvals and WHO certifications. Many companies are in the process, and we will seeking your guidance always. And now I will request Dr. Sabiha, please make formal closing. And if any question, please communicate to Mr. Ahmed now.
If you have any questions, so please ask.
So I think we can take question by email. Thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you all participants. And we also thank you, Mr. Shoaib Hakim, because always he's supporting us, and he's part of our GCA GMP Compliance Academy, and he was busy in another meeting outside. And see you again in the next webinar. Thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.